Hello, everyone, and welcome to interview number 3 of the ETMN's interview series. For those of you who don't know, ETMN stands for the EdTech Mentorship Network, and we're here to connect BC educators and beyond. If you're watching this live today, you can interact with us on the question and answers feature on the event page if you have some questions for us or our guest today. Or you can also hit us up on the ETMN hashtag or the Google Plus community if you have any questions or comments. Leave them there for us. So today, Jeremy and I think we'll save our intros because we intro ourselves almost every time. Today we're going to be speaking with a very special friend of mine. Her name is Robyn Thiessen, and she's working in the Surrey School District. And Robyn is a grade 4-5 teacher this year, and I'm going to let her tell you a little bit more about herself before we get started.
Hi everybody, my name is Robyn and I've been teaching in Surrey for 25 years. I'm actually teaching intermediate, but I'm a primary teacher in disguise. I taught primary for 23 years. Last year I looped with my students into a 3-4 and then looped again into a 4-5, and I'm not looping anymore. I'm heading back to grade 3 to sort of start all over again next year. So I teach in the heart of Surrey near Bear Creek Elementary, and I love my job.
Awesome. Well, welcome, and thank you for coming on today. Robyn does a lot of cool stuff in her classroom, so we're really excited to chat with her about some of those things, and maybe some of the other people in the network can get some ideas on how to get involved with these curiosities, cultivating student curiosities. So, welcome.
Yes, looking forward to this. I don't think half an hour is going to be enough. Robyn is too cool. That's too awesome stuff.
Oh, thanks, guys.
Yeah, so obviously we talked a little bit about you looping and stuff like that. So how did that come into fruition that you ended up looping into 4-5? So some of your kids I know you've had for 3 years. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, 3 years, and they're awesome, and I love them to death. A lot of the students that I kept had learning issues or had high anxiety, and we're doing really well in my room, and because I have a lot of technology, their learning needs were being met in an amazing way, and so it happened that we had a 3-4, so I said I'd venture there as long as I could keep some of my students, and then the same thing happened last year with a 4-5, and so I said I would take the 4-5 as long as I could keep some of my students.
So it was a little bit of serendipity, not so much planned. This wasn't the plan to do looping?
No, not at all. It wasn't.
Okay.
It wasn't planned. I had hoped to do it for the 3-4, and then it just sort of fluked out for the 4-5. But I really advocate for looping because those kids and I know each other so well, and it really makes for a great start to the beginning of the year.
I can imagine.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Our system's not really set up to do that very well, but you know, with some experience and a strong voice for it, maybe that might happen a little bit more often.
Well, I think it comes into play when we start thinking of the education and teaching is not something for us and something for the students, that I can be flexible, and in the way that I teach, I don't worry, 100% about curriculum, so that helps me a lot.
Cool. And so how does technology ebb and flow into your curriculum? You said you have access to a bit of tech in your classroom, so how does that work for not only those students, but things that you can bring in to help cultivate curiosity for others?
Well, I put forth an inquiry proposition with the school district, and in exchange I would try out some new things, and in exchange they would give me some technology. So it works out that I have approximately 17 iPads and 8 laptops and a desktop in my room. I also do BYOD, so at any given time, every student in the class has technology. So it's not really something we do. It's just definitely a way that we learn and how we operate in the class.
Awesome. And then what kind of framed that inquiry setup? What did you submit that you guys were going to inquire about? Was it questions about how the tech was in the classroom, or was it questions about how it would be used?
No, it's how do you, I wanted to get away from teaching science out of a textbook, and I wanted to do a more inquiry-based focus, and with a combined class, I just took parts of the curriculum, combined them into essential questions, and then we did a lot of investigating.
Cool. And so let's talk about some of those programs that you do in your classroom. So you've listed something called the Global Classroom Project. Can you tell us a little bit about what that is?
Global Classroom Project is a group of educators from actually all over the globe. I find a lot of times when people talk about global projects, it's North America. It's not actually global. But these are educators that I talk to on Skype and on Twitter on a daily basis from South Africa and Australia and Ireland, the States, South America. And we get together on a group called Hello World Little Skypers and our Global Classroom Project, and we're constantly sharing and chatting and working together and collaborating on projects. There's also a Global Classroom Project wiki and a Global Classroom Project blog where people put their projects on there and learn and share and work together internationally.
Now, is that the students that are collaborating, or the teachers, or?
The teachers collaborate to start with, and they design projects that allow students to collaborate. For example,
But the students do connect internationally as well.
Correct. We use Edmodo a lot. We've also taken Pernell Rip's idea of the Global Read Aloud, and then after we did her work, we went on for another book, and we all met together on Edmodo, discussed that, and we just did Catherine Applegate's book, Home of the Brave, and we just actually 2 weeks ago had a big hangout with Catherine Applegate where the kids all got to ask their own questions, and there were just 5 classes involved in that. So there's lots of opportunities. Global Classroom Project also has a hashtag, Global Classroom, and we also have Twitter chats once a month on Saturdays. We usually have 3 so that we hit all the time zones, and then I usually moderate 1 or 2 of those as well.
Wow.
Awesome. And then your classes actually speak to each other regularly? Like, how does that work with the time zones that are halfway around the world?
That's why we use Edmodo. And then a lot of times we will talk with the teacher, and my students will ask the teacher questions based on the time zones as well. We do mystery Skyping with each other, number Skyping. We talk about books that we've read. The Traveling Rhino Project is one of the Global Classroom projects, and Karen Statler is an educator in Cape Town, South Africa, and she actually just won the ISTE Award for online learning this year, and I've known her for 2 years. I'm going to get to meet her face-to-face at ISTE because, of course, the winners get to go. So I'm so excited about that. Yeah, I was one of the first classrooms to get one of her rhinos. She has little stuffed rhinos that travel around the world. And I actually have another one back in my classroom, so I'll be able to take it to ISTE so she can see the journal that's gone on with that, too.
So for those of us who, well, I mean, I do, but for anybody watching or following along who's not familiar with what ISTE is, can you fill us in a little?
ISTE is the International Society for Technology Educators Conference. It's held once a year. Mega conference. This year it's in Atlanta. It'll be my first time. I'll get to meet all my global classroom people that I talk with and see all the time, but I've never been able to give a hug to, so I'm really excited about that. Because I love to give hugs.
This is the Educational Technology Conference to go to.
Yes, and there are quite a handful of folks going from Surrey,
yes.
To my knowledge. I'm also going to be attending this year too, so I'm pretty excited about that.
I know.
And nominated for an award too. Let's not skip over that.
Yes, I did not get it, but I was nominated. Yeah. So, yeah, but that's an honor in itself, right? So cool. So
wish I could go.
Yeah, you need to come one of these years.
LA next
I'll find
year.
a way someday. LA next year. That's in striking distance.
Yes.
Yeah, so tell us about some of the other things you're doing in your classroom then. So that's got to be an awesome way to connect your kids with classrooms around the world, but let's look at some of the other stuff that you're doing just to get that curiosity going with your own kids. So I know you do a lot of work with Wonderopolis, so can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, Wonderopolis is a web-based site. They've done some redevelopment in the last year. They have a Wonder of the Day. There's places for teachers. There's a video that goes with it, and it's now Kurzweil, so it'll read to you. So it really differentiates for all of your students. There's questions in there, and the folks behind Wonderopolis, which is the National Foundation for Family Literacy in the States, They they're so good with the kids that every time a kid responds to a wonder of the day, I'd say within half an hour, there's a response for that kid, a message right back to them. And then we had Wonder Wednesdays, so we would explore the wonder of the day. We'd look at the vocabulary. Kids would come up with their own questions. Usually Tuesday afternoon, there's always a prediction for the next day's wonder, so it helped us with our language arts with our prediction. A really great way to get nonfiction text features and nonfiction work in with your students. And I love the differentiation factor that some kids can have it read to them. There's a built-in dictionary, all those amazing tools that really help some of our more challenged readers in our classrooms. The other thing was that I decided for a year-on project last year that each one of my kids would create their own wonder of the day. So there would be something that they had investigated or were curious about all year long. And they did that on KidBlog. So they had to write a nonfiction piece, do a lot of research, and they also had to create a video that went with their work. And so I sent Victoria you a few links there of some of the wonders of the day that my kids had created. Which leads me into one of my students really wondered how Skype worked. And because we do a lot of Skyping in our room, I just threw out a tweet to Skype in the classroom. You know, one of my kids wants to know how you make it work. And within a month we were Skyping with London. My student was directly asking the people at Skype how everything worked. And it was just such a... Go ahead.
You've mentioned 3 times now, I mean, you've mentioned a number of incredible things, but one of the things that always grabs me about modern technology use in the classroom is how connected you can be to those higher powers. You said you talked to an author, you can talk to other teachers in classrooms, you can talk to Skype and talk to Wonderopolis, and people respond. It's such a huge community, but it's a tiny community at the same time where you're able to really connect with people. And I'm just always blown away by that happens, because you don't think about writing a letter necessarily to a major company and ever expecting a response, but for some reason through technology we do, and it works.
I would say Twitter is one, and you know, Twitter is one of the best ways, and everybody wants to help kids learn. I found that people are so generous with their time. Anybody I've ever reached out to has come back and said, sure, when can we set it up? We'd love to answer those kids' questions. And the same with Genius Hour. I had somebody this year that wanted to know about publishing an ebook, so she ended up talking to a guy in New York from Harcourt about how they get ebooks published. So people really want to... I love it too. I mean, it blows my mind, and yet it's just something that we do, and if you don't ask, it's always my philosophy, don't ask, you don't get. You know, so if you throw something out there, something's going to come back. And people love helping kids.
Yeah, totally. We had the Explain Everything folks correspond with one of my students and actually add a feature to the application itself, which ended up being a really powerful thing for my class. And you know, in the eyes of a 3rd grader, you're now famous if you have something that's really on an iPad. So
yeah, it's awesome. And you know, we Skyped with Wonderopolis, and they wanted feedback. And so another one of the links I sent to you was the wonder number 92. What is a ice cream headache? That's actually my class in the video. They asked, we came up with that wonder, and we said we want to do some research on that, and we want to make a video. So we actually went out and bought super big gulps and slushies, and the kids drank them, and they all got brain freezes, and we filmed a video. We felt so sick after. We filmed a video and sent it to Wonderopolis, and it's actually on their site, number 92. What is an ice cream headache? That's my class.
That's too funny. And I actually tweeted that out to the ETMN hashtag if anybody wants to check that one out.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
You guys got brain freeze as an inquiry project. That's
yeah. What is a brain freeze? I mean, really, everybody wonders. So, you know, I think that's one of the big things, is just taking kids' wonders and my own wonders and validating them and saying, you know, let's find out. Let's just figure it out. And once you honor that with kids, I think everything is, you know, an open book. And kids love that you are willing to listen to them.
Yeah, totally. What are some of the craziest wonders you've gotten from your kids? Like, you gave us a couple examples through the kid blogs, but maybe you could name some of the wonders that your kids came up with.
I mean, they have the usual ones, you know, how did the Earth get here? But there's some interesting ones, like the brain freeze one. We were actually looking at the brain one day, and then somebody said, "Oh, but what about a brain freeze?" And it just sort of snowballed. One whole day led to this whole thing, and kids will say the wildest things, the craziest things, like, "Why do people like Play-Doh?" Now, I don't know, why do people like Play-Doh? So then we do a whole research project on Play-Doh and help make up surveys and smell tests, and, you know, it's just when you switch your thinking to being about the kids and honoring the kids. I didn't always used to be this way, so, you know, it's only in the last 4 or 5 years that I sort of switched my teaching philosophy to be more child-centered, and there we went from there.
What an incredible journey.
Yeah, Genius Hour works into that as well, too, right? It's just honoring all the kids' investigations and wonders.
So you say you did just get started. How did that happen? What brought about change for you?
I think I was doing my PB Plus on teaching and learning in today's classroom, and it just hit me one day that, you know, this isn't about me. It's not about me and it being my space and me being in control. And when I realized that, it just opened up the whole world for me. And then I went on through that. I went on Twitter and I met Galit Zvi, who was one of the Genius Hour people, and I met her for coffee. And then I met Victoria for coffee. And I just reached out to all these different people and made connections, and everything just sort of snowballed from there. So, like today, we got 4 Makey-Makeys. And so I just I handed them out to the kids, and I said, because I'd put the video on the blog knowing that we were going to get them, and I said, have a look at this. I just handed them the boxes, and for an hour and a half, they figured out how to get those things to work. And by the end, some of the kids were playing Pac-Man with Play-Doh, and we had pianos and bongo drums going throughout the whole classroom, but I didn't do anything. I just handed them the boxes.
That's too funny.
It was awesome.
Can you tell, because there's a lot of folks who I'm sure don't know what Makey-Makey is, can you kind of tell a little bit about what it is? I'm going to put a link up on Twitter.
So a Makey-Makey is basically just a keyboard, like a computer keyboard that you link into your computer, and it takes the keyboard off your computer onto whatever you want it to be. So I could put 5 bananas in a row and put the piano up on my computer, and the bananas, if I touched them, would play the piano keys. They figured out how to make Mario jump in Mario Kart, and then they figured out how to make Flappy Bird fly just by touching the Play-Doh, which they'd hooked into the alligator clips, which was sending a signal to the computer on what to make it do. So it's just all about the makerspace movement and just giving kids tools to try out.
Wow. Yeah, it's so unbelievable. Like, you have to, like, when you watch some of the videos and some of the stuff they make, you're like, what? This is crazy. How does that work?
Yeah, I did tweet out a few pictures of them working on the SD36 Learn hashtag too.
Oh, cool. Okay, we'll have to check those out. That's awesome. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about Genius Hour then, because that's something else that you are a big advocate for in your classroom, and definitely cultivate student curiosity. So how does that work in your classroom, and where did it start for you?
Well, it's actually changed over the last 2 years. When we started, it was just sort of kids could do anything they wanted, and it ended up being a lot of craft time. This year we had essential questions. We had to learn how to craft an essential question. And then from there, the students did investigations. And then this last session, I said to the kids, you know, I'm really not feeling a lot of accountability happening here. What do you think about including a reflection time that's built into the Genius Hour time? And so we came up with 4 questions that after every Genius Hour time, the kids had to answer. So it was, what did I do, what went well, what failed, and what am I going to do next time?
Mm-hmm.
And
sounds obvious but profound.
Yeah. So every time we have a Genius Hour, they go on their blog and then they record their thinking and their learning, so that, you know, over a couple of weeks they might forget where they were or where they've been, and so this just helps them keep track too. So a lot of good projects, a lot of game development, you know, board games. The kids are making board games. They're doing some interesting research project. We were doing the human body, so I had people making human bodies out of cardboard with flip-ups with the, you know, the anatomy underneath, and it's been a lot of fun. I really enjoyed Genius Hour, watching the children create, and I like to build in that communication time and the one-to-one time with them as we go through as well.
And you've been doing this with some of these kids for the past 3 years. So do some of them continue on with the same projects from year to year, or do they always come up with a new one? Like, how does that work for you?
They haven't done the same project over time. What I've noticed after 3 years is, you know, they've evolved as people, and they're not interested in the same things that they were in grade 3 as they are, you know, now almost in grade 6.
Right.
Their interests are, like, they used to be only Angry Bird people, and now they're like interested in everything. Right. You know, I did struggle this year with a bunch of students that really couldn't figure out what they were interested in, and then they really had a tough time when it came time to presenting. And I think their biggest learning was that they were accountable and they did fail, and so what were they going to do different this time?
Did you have a timeline on them? Like, is it Genius Hour for 6 weeks and then present, or is there?
I usually rotate as they finish up their project. If I can see it's just going to be the never-ending project, then we work, you know, to find a solution, or at least bring it to a close, even if it's not solved or finished. Because some kids will just stay with a piece of cardboard for a long time.
Yeah, I have a few third graders wanting to develop a video game. Yeah, and those are huge projects, right? But they have to, I wanted to bring them to that space of understanding that, oh, you need to be able to code to do this, and if you code, then what do I need to know? So they did that, and so they kind of turned around and said, we're going to create the instruction manual for the game. And then, so, you know, okay, create the instruction manual and create the characters, and they have a storyline and everything, but
that's awesome.
Yeah, just not the skills to actually code the game.
Well, no.
Yeah. Bless their souls, though. They think they're going to do it. So.
But wouldn't that be great
that's
to
the
connect?
whole learning piece, right? Is they don't know what they don't know in order to make the game go.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
At the same time, I was thinking, wouldn't that be great to connect with another class, maybe an older class somewhere else, to actually takes on that challenge? Here's the outline for the game.
Yeah.
Can you build it?
Totally. That would be really cool. Actually, Robyn, as you're talking to about the board game business, like we have a group in our class making a board game as well, and theirs is all done, and they're kind of doing they're prepping for their presentation, but we just had a couple share sessions, and they get so excited because so many other kids who come in, they want to play and learn how to play their game. Right?
Yeah. Lots of positive peer feedback, and then when they're doing their presentations, it's peer feedback the whole time. Mm-hmm. And they can be pretty rough on each other. Like, if somebody's not doing a good job, they're not afraid to say, you know, this is where you need to improve. And I think allowing kids to fail and letting them know that going back and trying again is totally an option is the biggest gift that we can give kids these days, is letting them fail, letting them be wrong, and letting them try and figure out how to make it right.
Yeah, totally. All right, so we're going to wrap up in a few minutes, but there's one more program I really want Robyn to talk about before she goes. She does so many amazing things in her classroom, it's hard to believe it all fits in. But this other program that she participates in, or her class participates in, is called Classroom Champs. Can you tell us a little bit about Classroom Champs?
Yeah, speaking of failure and letting kids try again, Classroom Champs is perfect for that. Classroom Champions is a nonprofit organization that was started by Steve Messler and his sister Lee. Steve won the gold medal in four-man bobsled for the U.S. team here in Vancouver in 2010, and had done all those sort of school visits where you pop in, pop out, pop in, pop out. But he wasn't feeling really satisfied with that. He really wanted something that was going to last. So he started this foundation which partners classrooms with current Olympic athletes. And this year my class is partnered with Brittany Schuessler, who's a long track speed skater, lives in Calgary, and went to Sochi and competed in Sochi. Unfortunately, she didn't win a gold medal or any medal, but and then every month there's lessons. There's goal setting, fair play, community, steps to success, healthy living, keeping friends. We are champions. Every month has a different theme, and I develop the lessons around that theme, and we work with the students on that. But your athlete also sends a video to your class talking about their ideas around that topic, on how they set goals, how they're successful. So actually last Friday was a really big day in my room, because during the Olympics there was a video contest, and the kids got to create a video, a cheer video or another style of video, and then there was a juried section, and we didn't win the juried section, but we ran the random draw section, and the prize was having your athlete come for the day. Oh. And so, yeah, last Friday, Brittany flew in from Calgary in the morning, hung out with my class all day. She did a little assembly. We did an assembly, had a huge lunch, had a big soccer game in the afternoon, and she got to hand out their certificates and medals, and the kids were just in awe all day long. The biggest difference it made for them was understanding that there are steps to being successful. It just doesn't happen overnight, and that although sometimes we only see the success of the athletes, there's tons of times when they're failing. And I think Brittany's most powerful message was asking my kids and I to watch her team pursuit video from Vancouver, where they were expected to win the gold and they failed, and totally failed, and how she came back from that, and what she did mentally and physically to come back from such a devastating loss.
Wow. Wow, what a profound opportunity for your kids. They're never going to forget that day.
No, it's totally amazing, and actually Classroom Champions is just taking applications from Canadian teachers right now to partner them up for next year. So check out their website.
I thought it was only an American program, so I've largely ignored it. I knew the overall idea, but I thought it was American, so I've said, okay, whatever, don't have a chance, I'm not interested, but okay, I have a chance and I'm interested.
This was the first year in Canada. It was their inaugural year. There were 20 classes, and my friend Diana Williams and I both applied. We were the only 2 classes chosen in British Columbia to participate, so we were really honored by that, and we actually went back to Calgary at the beginning of April for the Classroom Champions Teacher Conference, where we looked at designing new curriculum and stuff for the program. So, nope, they're taking applications right now, Jeremy, and looking at that. So you've got to do it fast, though. Fast.
I get on the paperwork.
I am just about to tweet the link here, so Jeremy, you can get on that.
Okay. Pardon me while I go send in an application here.
Yeah. All right. Well, Robyn, it was wonderful having you on the show here today. It's really awesome to highlight what's going on in British Columbia, and sometimes it's happening right in our next door neighbor, in my case, or sometimes in your own backyard. And it's really awesome to have you share some of the knowledge and some of the awesome things you're doing. So if you want to connect with Robyn today or anytime, you can get at her. I'm sure Twitter is the best way. So her Twitter handle is @Robyn Thiessen. That's ROBYNTHIESSEN. Yeah, I was going EI or I. Yeah.
Connect away.
Awesome. So we're really busy in the month of June here, so I'm going to go take a look at my June calendar so I can tell you all about the new events coming up here in the next little while. So next week we have another webinar podcast with Jeremy Monday and Wednesday, so that's June 9th and 11th. Jeremy, do we have a topic for that yet?
We're looking at Evernote.
Okay, we're looking at Evernote. I thought it was Evernote. I didn't want to make any promises I couldn't keep. And then we are going to be interviewing my principal, actually, Sean Davids, on Monday, June 16th. So we have a couple events coming up here, and we're hoping to wrap up our interview series at the end of June in the last week of school. So with one more guest, which we haven't fully lined up yet, so I don't want to announce it. So there's a ton of events coming up on the ETMN. Check out the Google Plus community and our hashtag for more information to keep up to date with our events. Thanks again, Robyn, for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you, Robyn. It's nice talking to you again.
Jeremy, any other announcements, words?
I don't think we have any more announcements. We're going to line up that last guest, and I'm looking forward to next week and doing some exploring.
Fantastic. Okay, well, thanks everyone for watching now or live, or if you're watching later, then thanks, and you can get at us on the places I listed before. All right, good night.
Good night, everyone.